Hi, welcome to HowtoDandD. My name is Fred Wheeler and today I want to talk about Dungeons & Dragons 5e. And today's topic is Eberron, Rising from the Last War. It has been announced. This is a new Dungeons & Dragons 5e book. And oh my gosh, it has been spread all over Amazon. It's on the official Dungeons & Dragons website. This is a new Eberron book and it has been announced. Its release date is going to be the 19th of November 2019. That's this year, of course. And it is actually a campaign setting book and an adventure book. Now, as far as I can tell from what they've actually presented so far, and this is a bit of speculation on my part, it has got the components or tools for a dungeon master to create their own adventure, and it also provides an adventure which the design team have said for some time that they would not put out a campaign book if there was not already at least a small adventure tied in. And that's exactly what we're getting in this product. Now, I want to sort of talk briefly about the covers before we get into the content. There are two covers. There is a standard cover and there is a limited or alternate cover, the special cover, the one that you pay usually a little bit more for, but a lot of people like to pick up because, you know, some of the artwork is quite unusual. Now, the standard cover is a little confusing. As you can see right now, when you look at this cover, it does have a Warforged on it, at least. I don't really know too much about Eberron myself. You can only just make out in the background that there is an airship of some kind behind this woman who has sticking up white hair. I don't know who she is. I've got no idea. So we don't really have an awful lot playing in. But if we go from the standard cover and look at the alternate limited edition cover, it makes far more sense what we're looking at. So what we get is airships and a cityscape, which for those of you who are familiar with Eberron, it's a mixture of magic and technology. So this actually makes far more sense as a cover for a book, whereas the standard one is a little confusing. Now I have a whole bunch of information, which is all of this information you should be able to get access to down in my description for this video, so you can go down there and access it through Amazon. But you can also go onto the official Dungeons & Dragons website, and it has all the information you need there as well. So I'm going to read through this section and then break down each piece and tell you what I think is going on here. So let's start with the very beginning. The usual stuff. Explore the lands of Eberron in this campaign sourcebook for the world's greatest roleplay game. Okay, no surprises. This book provides everything players and dungeon masters need to play Dungeons & Dragons in Eberron, a war-torn world filled with magic-fueled technology such as airships, lightning trains, where Nor-inspired mystery meets swashbuckling action-adventure. Will Eberron enter a prosperous new age, or will the shadow of war descend once again? Well, I think we can pretty much guarantee that war is going to descend, because that's what conflict is, and what drives stories is often war or conflict. So a prosperous new age, really, that's just a bit too tame. Now, it does state that this book is for players and dungeon masters, and as a general rule, Wizards of the Coast has been a bit spotty with regard to producing a book that it has content for dungeon masters and players. Sometimes it's more tailored towards players, sometimes it's more tailored towards dungeon masters. But as we read through the information, it becomes quite clear that there's a lot of information here, and I feel like it could well be a book that's suitable for both players and dungeon masters to pick up. Dive straight into your pulp action with easy-to-use locations, complete with maps of floating castles, skyscrapers, and more. Now, I think what that means essentially is that you're going to get tools. So your maps and maybe some general information in terms of the fluff behind that area that you can use, pluck and place. So that's what I mean by a Dungeon Master toolbox. I think that's what's going on there with regard to that part of the description. And I could be wrong. This is all speculation at this point. As I said, this has just been announced. Explore Shan, a city of skyscrapers, airships, Noorish intrigue, and a crossroads for the world's war-ravaged peoples. So essentially it's just saying that there's going to be some information on Shan, which would be weird if there wasn't. It plays a major part in Eberron, so we would be wondering why we don't have that there. So yes, Shan has to make an appearance, obviously. Okay, it includes a campaign for characters venturing into the moorland, a mist-cloaked, corpse-littered land twisted by magic. So this is the campaign or the adventure part. Now I would suspect, based on the fact that we're dealing with not only a campaign book and an adventure book, and there's a whole lot of other stuff in there, that what's going to probably wind up taking place is that it's going to be an adventure, much like the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica, of probably level 1 to 5 or level 1 to 6. They did something very similar for Acquisitions Incorporated, which was a setting book and also included a short adventure. So that's their concept. So when you think campaign, don't think level 1 to 10. I don't think that's going to be what you're going to get. There just wouldn't be enough space in the book. It would be a huge book and would cost a fortune. Meld magic and invention to craft objects of wonder as an artificer. The first official class to be released for 5th edition D&D since the Player's Handbook. So we knew the artificer was coming. It is going to be included in the book, and of course that'll be a draw point for most of your players to pick the book up so they have access to that, which is good. Flesh out your characters with a new D&D game element called a group patron, a background for your whole party. Now this element here, now if this is what's actually taking place, it is about time. This should have happened a long time ago. I love the backgrounds, but when you have an entire party and they all have a different background, they still have to tie each other together. And there was never anything that sort of helped do that. It was really left to the Dungeon Master and the players to make that work when they did their session 0 or before they started play or whatever. But this is actually creating something that you can use, which allows you to tie all of your party members together through a background that they share. Now in my current group, we all share the same background. We all picked Knight. We're all Knights of the Unicorn, and it's actually proven to be hugely useful. Although it might feel like there isn't a lot of variation and difference between the characters, that is certainly not the case. It just means that we all come from a very similar background. Explore 16 new sub-race options, including dragon marks, which magically transform certain members of the races in the Player's Handbook. So there were dragon marks included in the Wayfarers Guide to Eberron, I believe it was, and I'm going to talk about that very shortly. So there's a whole lot of stuff that's clearly designed not just for Dungeon Master, but also for your players as well. Confront horrific monsters born from the world's devastating wars. So I think that definitely means we're going to have a bestiary. There's going to be some monsters included in there. I don't know if there's going to be any magic items. There hasn't really been any talk about that, and this is really early stages. This information only dropped I think like was it yesterday, something like that. It's only been a day or two since it's been dropped. Okay, so those are the things that I think are essentially going to take place based on the information that's been in the description. Now this is all speculation, we don't know for sure yet. Now I knew that some people were going to ask a particular question, and that is the Wayfinder's Guide to Eberron. What is going to happen with the interplay between the Wayfinder's Guide to Eberron, which is a digital product, and something like this Eberron Rising from the Last War? So here's what I think is going to happen. And I know a lot of people are wondering because they have already purchased the Wayfinder's Guide to Eberron, and they might well be expecting that they're going to get all of the content that is coming from Eberron Rising from the Lost War because they have purchased this online document. I don't believe that is going to be the case. D&D Beyond, their spokesperson, I believe the the founder and president, has already said that they don't know exactly what's going on with the interplay between Wayfinder's Guide to Eberron. They did say that if there are any updates on any of the information, such as backgrounds, races, and so forth, that are tied to the Wayfinder's Guide to Eberron, if there's any updates, then they would be transferred over to anybody who purchased Wayfinder's Guide to Eberron. But that's probably it. Anything else, anything additional, and there will be a lot of additional information in Eberron Rising from the Last War, that won't be included or provided to people who have already purchased Wayfinder's Guide to Eberron. I know that is not the answer you wanted, but just don't expect that to happen. I really think that's very unlikely, which is why when the Wayfinder's Guide to Eberron came out, and it was not just a playtest document and you had to pay for it, I felt like that was a little bit of a trap. And for those of you who just picked up the Unearthed Arcana and played with the races and the dragon marks and so forth that were provided there, you probably picked the smartest route with regard to this particular product. Not the answer you wanted, I realise, but I think that's probably where we're looking at. Okay, so now, if you found this video helpful or useful or informative in some way, that's great news, and I'm really happy that you have found it useful. If you want to check out some of my other videos, I have videos for players and dungeon masters, which you are welcome to go and check out. Hundreds of them on all sorts of different topics. If you want to support the channel so I keep doing videos like this, then you can check out my Patreon page where you get access to the live streams that go unlisted and also additional content that I put up from time to time. I also have affiliate links down in the description to the book depository in Amazon, and I also have a link to the new Eberron Rising from the Last War on Amazon if you want to check it out and see what it's like. I also have a merchandise shelf underneath the videos, which you can also purchase merchandise from. Make sure to share, like, and subscribe. Hit the bell button to be notified when I go live and when I publish new videos. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s.